Mala, Yak Mala. Welcome back, my friends, to the Cult Film Showdown. I am your host, 8th Dan Stanadu, and I am pleased to be joined by my friends. I have Nick Boxer.
Greetings and salutations. You know, you're phoning it in, man. You're not putting the Yak Mala in there. The energy is just gone.
Oh,
We're several seasons in, man. You got to put some energy into it, man.
I would like to point out
with it.
I'd like to point out that he never says Akmala anyways.
Yakmala! Yakmala! Yes. All right. Now, we've heard from Jack Hall.
Yeah, it's me. What's up?
Yeah, that's you. All right. And, once again, James Kata.
I am thrilled to be here to discuss who they are and why they are playing with fire.
Yeah, it's important to know why they're playing with fire, our movie, as we come to the conclusion of our Sybil Danning Spotlight, the Sybil-ance season with They're Playing with Fire. And now, well, maybe, do you think Nick is going to explain to us who is playing with fire in his summary of the movie?
I can tell you right now, no.
No.
Because I don't know.
All right. Nick, They're Playing with Fire, to you.
All right. May I just say, if you're going to go out on a Sybil Danning season, this is the movie to go out on. I had a great time with this one. All righty. Sybil Danning plays a teacher at a university who seduces a young student into helping her scare her elderly in-laws out of the house so her and her husband can inherit a bunch of money. Unfortunately, when the student is in the house, the elderly in-laws are murdered. And after that, it's sort of a cat and mouse game of who killed the in-laws and what the hell's going on and who can trust who. It was an entertaining romp, which at any time where Sybil Danning was wearing clothing, she looks uncomfortable. Great time was had by all. I don't want to wreck the mystery because I was actually guessing at who was the killer for the entire movie. Not because it's set up that way, just because it's not a very well-made film. It's just an entertaining one.
Well, I think then we have to say right now to folks, if you want to see the film, and you should watch these films before listening to the show and watch along with us, that's the whole concept. Go watch it, come back, then listen to this, because there will be spoilers. Because there's no way we can talk about this and avoid that.
It is very true.
Yeah, I just don't want to do it in plot synopsis.
Yeah,
I told them what the movie's about.
Sorta.
Yeah.
There's a mystery at the beginning, and then there is quite a twist towards the end, and that's all we'll say at this point in time. Though there's no way we don't go deeper into that twist, because then the whole mood of the movie changes.
It has some tonal shifts, this film. It moves quite rapidly into the kind of sex thriller that this fits into as a genre. The seduction of her student, and then the first time that she
8 minutes before you see Sybil Shepherd naked, by the way.
Sybil Shepherd.
Oh wait. Sybil Danning.
Yeah, it moves very quickly in that. She doesn't mess around.
And I don't think for the entire movie there's another 8 minutes in between nude scenes with Sybil Danning.
I think you might be right.
She showers a lot.
She does, yeah.
It's true.
Dirty girl.
And once you reach the end, near the end, then it's just kind of like, well, we have 5 minutes free, so we might as well have sex.
She's in her mid-30s here. This is probably her best looking that she ever looked. Like, she was gorgeous. She considers this to be her best acting performance.
All right
Yeah,
then.
well, I think it's one of the roles where she actually has more than one level. So
Yes, it's true.
yeah, she's she's doing the Yojimbo playing two sides against the other thing throughout the film. Her motivations are hidden from the audience for the whole film. You never know what she's up to.
God, we've made it this far without mentioning the Bikini Man. I'm sorry, that bikini deserves a Hall of Fame spot right now. I'm telegraphing this one. I'm sorry, it had nothing to do with what you were saying but it deserves mention early in this podcast.
Yeah, we're about 5 minutes in before we get that bikini. So about 8 minutes before we get to the nudity, but when the bikini goes off. But you're right, the bikini itself is deserving of a Hall of Fame nomination.
We actually see that bikini before we see anything else of the story. 1 minute in, she walks across the yacht wearing that bikini, and then we come back to it. They really peppered Sybil Danning in either underwear or bikini throughout the film. It was well crafted that way.
they maximized her assets for sure for us.
So I'm not kidding you. The DVD jacket refers to her breasts as sumptuous sacks. That's an actual thing on the DVD jacket.
Amazing. Buxom is what she's called in the plot summary on IMDb.
It's sumptuous sacks. Nothing stopping that.
Amazing.
It's interesting. It feels like there's a lot to be said about Sybil Danning and her assets in this one, and not necessarily that much to be said about the story.
So true.
So true. The thing that I found about this story was that, I mean, other than the tonal shift, and because we start off with this whole teacher fooling around with her student, and then it suddenly becomes this, the sexual thriller with murders and people getting knocked off, and there is a mystery, and it just kind of followed the story. It was just going, point A to point B to point C, and etc. So I wasn't sitting there whipping out my pen and paper taking notes for this one.
You were whipping out something else.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, this was, as you said earlier, I mean, this was the good way to wrap up the season. Because
just had a pen and paper in your pocket, you're just happy to see Sybil Danning.
Yeah. And you know the answer to that, so happy to see either of them. But
quite a movie.
This might be the longest plot summary I've ever seen on Wikipedia for a film that we've done. There's a short novel there to summarize.
Much like the movie itself, I started reading that whole thing to remind myself what happened in the movie, and could not and got bored because it doesn't have the actual nudity. Without the nudity to keep your attention, this film is gonna drag.
Well, and it's so weird, right? Because I know that when I first started watching this movie, I kind of wondered to myself, how long is this movie? And so then I Googled it, and just immediately in the Google, it shows an hour and 49 minutes, and I was thinking to myself, oh, this is so freaking long. And so then I wound up stopping at an hour and 20 minutes in, and then came back and there's only 15 minutes left, and I'm like, oh, well, geez, I've missed the best 15 minutes right now.
The last 15 minutes are something. You swear that's a different film again altogether.
Yeah, for sure. Sometimes
it becomes a horror film. Let's face it.
Sometimes watching movies
slasher film
in 2 sections like that really changes your outlook on the entire movie, because the first half is kind of a little dull, and then that last 15-20 minutes is just wow, I am in a slasher movie, and things are exciting, and there's still nudity, and so it's much better in that regard. I'll just go back to that part.
But it's dullness with breasts, so it's okay.
Oh yeah,
there's some really good bait and switch as far as who the criminal is. You think you think that you're watching one of those howdunnits where they just show you who the murderer is, and then as the story goes, you're like, well, that guy couldn't have done it. Mm-hmm. So,
well, yes, there's some good bait and switches, except for the fact that the person that actually did it, they don't introduce that he's a possibility that he did it until 75 minutes in.
I figured it out. It was him, just on the process of elimination. Like, you've reached that point. It's like when you're watching like a Law and Order or Murder, She Wrote. You reach the point where like, well, we've run out of other characters, so it has to be that guy.
There has to be a character.
I don't know why it's that guy, but
there has to be. When they said that the brother was in the insane asylum, it had to actually be not the same brother. There has to be another brother. That's what you're saying to yourself? Because I mean, honestly, like the whole thing is, and there's the spoiler alert, by the way. But hopefully at this point people have gone and watched it first, at least for Sybil. But, you know, I mean, that's the thing is, it's not like you're sitting there and they mention that there's another brother. You have to deduce that by yourself, that that's a possibility.
Yeah, I think they hint at it, but it's never, they don't return. Like they mention in passing that there's someone else, but they never return to it. There isn't anything plot wise that telegraphs that shows you the ending. It
comes out of nowhere, dude.
It does. Yeah, it is a total. Like I said, it's only because it ran out of other characters for it to be.
Mm-hmm,
well, it's not going to be the handyman. It's like, you know, he's the one that they're obviously putting up.
Yeah.
As the obvious one. So if you eliminate him,
the husband,
and then all
that kind of thing, and
husband, the Sybil, and there was a point where I was wondering if the young guy did do it.
So the insane brother's the one who did it. How did his shoes end up in the houseboat then? If it was if in the brother's houseboat that he never leaves the house, how did his shoes end up in the houseboat that he was wearing during the murder?
What do you mean he never leaves the house? He's like the main character's roommate.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
that's right. Yeah. I forgot about that.
Like, of course he leaves the house.
Oh, yeah, he's the main character's roommate. I totally forgot. See, that's the movie. Like,
well, that's what I'm saying. Like, there's one awkward scene with the roommate and our lead Jay, who are talking about his affair, and the roommate kind of gives him some flack for it. And I'm like, well, you know, you've introduced this other character, doesn't accomplish anything else, so I'm thinking it's him, but
you're not thinking it's the brother and he's insane. You're just
I never connected that part. I connected that it was the roommate. Okay. I figured the roommate, like I was guessing maybe he had.
Still want to know how the shoes ended up in the houseboat.
Yeah, maybe he was sleeping with Sybil Danning too.
That's what you get for playing with fire.
Yep. That's the good call.
Why is it that the girl says that to the guy? The guy's going to see his teacher in her room. Doesn't mean anything. And the ex-girlfriend immediately goes, "You're playing with fire." Like 2 minutes into the movie. Like, don't wait till something actually happens before you say that line, will you?
I like that Sybil Danning, she also gets the, as we mentioned other times, the librarian who takes off the glasses and shakes at her hair. She gets that moment. She does the giant glasses school marm thing for like 3 minutes, and then she's into a bikini again.
Yes.
Yeah, it's like everybody knows how sexy she is, but she's still a school marm.
So the ex-girlfriend, how did she get those pictures of them, by the way? How did that happen? How did any of this happen?
It takes a lot of liberties with story progression. Certainly. Like, I give them full marks for attempting to tell a real story and attempting to really go, they went for it. Like, they're going all the way with this story. But there's a lot of little holes that if we really started digging into this movie, it would be like, wait, that doesn't make sense. Neither does that. And neither that,
Yeah, this is like a pseudo remake of an earlier film from the director called The Teacher, the writer-director. So, I mean,
Yeah, that's much more of a straightforward, because he changed the ending, I believe.
Yeah, the ending's changed quite a bit. But, yeah, so it's like a pseudo remake, like I say. But, I mean, yeah, this is, I mean, it is what he clearly wanted to do, this film. This is the director's vision. I don't think there's any question of that.
I had looked at that at The Teacher, actually. I was thinking about going back after I watched this because Anthony James, who was one of the creepiest actors in the history.
I think it's on Prime. if I remember correctly.
Oh, then I'll definitely go back.
I think
it's that
is.
convenient.
I'm pretty sure.
Oh yeah, I feel like I've seen the poster for this.
Yeah. When you see the poster, it looks familiar, and that's probably from Prime. So I don't know. 1974. It's it would be an interesting thing to, I don't know necessarily for the podcast, but at least have at least one person in the podcast take a look at it and then tell the rest of us, and the listeners if they feel like it, like how similar is it? Like it would be interesting, perhaps an interesting review.
I would just like to know if the film works without Sybil Danning.
Well, that's a big question. I'm pretty sure that whoever is the teacher in that film is still lovely.
Oh, yeah.
But not Sybil Danning.
I meant nudity, not Sybil Danning. Yeah.
I'm talking nudity, too. I'm pretty sure 1974's The Teacher has some nudity. In fact, probably more than this one.
I believe it has more, yeah.
Oh. Maybe I'll volunteer to watch it myself.
All right. Anyways, so let's go to scoring, because I've got something to do this afternoon.
Oh, come on. Yeah. We're not that far into the episode. We're only like 20 minutes in.
But I got something to do this afternoon now. I got the teacher to watch.
He's desperate to watch The Teacher.
Teacher, can you teach me?
Tell me everything that I need to know.
All right.
38 special? The 38 special?
Yes.
Yes, I want to say yes.
Yes, it is.
I want to say yes because it's correct.
Because it's correct, yes, please. So please do say yes. You are perfectly good in saying yes.
All right. In our search for the ultimate B movie, we rate each film in 5 categories, none of which are objective quality. The first category is called schlock appeal, and we start with Stan.
I don't know where to go with this one, really. It felt like there's, as we talk about it, it feels like there's some schlocky elements in the plot holes, but that it doesn't feel like an enormous amount of schlock insofar as they really wanted to tell this story. They really wanted to like make a whodunit and to make a sexual thriller, and it has so many just different elements in it that I find it quite interesting. Overall, like, I would probably enjoy a rewatch more than I enjoyed the first watch. So I'm just going to give it a 4.
Yeah, I know what you're saying, because it's almost like they made a legitimate attempt at a film, but you had one producer just sort of standing in the background saying, you know what, Sybil Danning, take your top off. So, yeah.
That sounds accurate.
It's not going to go over the top, but it does have way too much nudity to get a really low score on the schlock appeal. And I mean, even the artwork and stuff is all schlocky. So I'll go high as a 7.
Yeah, the artwork and the everything like that. I mean, and the way the film was marketed was like, as a sex comedy, but it is certainly not that. Tell you the truth, really, what it is, it's like a 1980s television primetime network soap opera with a bunch of nudity thrown in for no reason. That's basically what it is. So if those were cheesy and schlocky, they're not really. But the end is like that last 15 minutes when it becomes the slasher film. That's super cheesy and schlocky. So I'm going to give it a 5.
I think 10 years later, this film would have been on Cinemax. Like, this is the bread and butter of Cinemax in the 90s was exactly this film, and it would have had different casting by then. Would have had Shannon Tweed as the lead, yes. But but I think it fits right into that. It's not, it doesn't go super far into that, so 5 is also where I'm going with that. More heart than budget. I didn't see a stated budget.
And I think it's fine, honestly. Like, for me, I mean, we talk about Sybil Danning thinking this is her best performance. We talk about the fact that the director made The Teacher before and kind of, remade elements into this. I really believe that this is the movie that he wanted to make. I really believe that Sybil Danning really wanted to do this movie. I thought that they really did put their effort into it, so I'm going to give it an 8.
Yeah, I'll go with an 8 as well. This is a movie. This is a movie. This is the movie. Everyone was trying their best.
Right. I'm going to go with slightly lower. I'll give it a 6, but I mean, it's still an exploitation movie. Clearly, exploitation. I mean, the fact that it had a better character arc for Sybil Danning's character, more interesting character than she usually got, but it still was. Hey, do you want this role? You're going to have to be nude a lot. So that's still the basis of everything. So I can only give it a 6, I'm afraid.
I will. I think that they were definitely pushing as far as performance went in a very silly film, and a lot is carried by. We haven't talked much about him, but Eric Brown, who plays the boy who has been seduced, carries quite a lot of the film.
Wants. Every chick wants this guy, despite not being really all that.
Yeah, he looks younger than the character he's playing, and that kind of adds to the whole thing.
You're stepping on my WTFs, man.
I'm gonna split the difference and go with 7. What the fuck moments?
For me, I would suggest that the biggest what the fuck moment came, like in just some of the story points when you talk about the idea, like so he comes back, our hero comes back from trying to scare the old folks out, which he doesn't do a particularly good job of, and then and he's getting shot at as he gets by, and then of course they turn up murdered, and then the husband is like, well, you killed them. And it's just like, wait a minute. There's no.
Why did the husband try and clean the blood off the wall if he was innocent?
Well, and the question for me was just that, like, why would he kill them? He had absolutely no motive to kill them whatsoever. It's just some of these little inconsistencies throughout that I kind of scratched my head on. But there wasn't a lot of, to me, moments where I was just like, whoa, this seems really out of place, other than the ending where it was just kind of like, and here's your fabricated ending, thank you. So, like, we threw you a curveball, and it's just like, yeah, I think you threw the scriptwriter a curveball too, but that's okay. So I will give it a 4 for that as well.
Sorry, what category are we in?
What
WTFs.
WTFs. Okay, awesome. Okay, first one, I alluded to it earlier. The casting of our hero. All the sex scenes with him and Sybil Danning. I enjoyed the Sybil Danning bits, but I kept thinking, did she check his ID before this movie started?
Here's the thing about this. Here's the thing that's about that is he was in another movie called Private Lesson where he was seduced by Sylvia Kristal 3 years earlier. That came out in 1981. This came out in 1984. So he's replaying it. In that movie, he played a 15-year-old. So when you look at it that way, I don't think that's as strong a WTF as a. I know. Just looking at him, he looks like he could still be 15. But at that time, he would have been over 18 and already playing a 15-year-old. And this is 3 years later.
I'm just saying, in this type of movie, maybe going with like the 30-year-olds we usually get would have made it a little less uncomfortable watching those sex scenes. Because, I mean, she's spectacular, but yeah, it's a creepy element in there, and it's, yeah, okay. But there are plenty more. The set design in this movie is really weird. I mean, the rich people's house, or the rich in-laws' house, has a Christmas room for no apparent reason. I never got why that was there. I mean, there's just a Christmas tree and a bunch of toys in a room that is sort of implied to be a crazy person's, but we never quite figured that one out. And the kid's apartment, which he shares with a roommate, which seems to be the world's largest one-bedroom apartment.
It's a warehouse, yes.
Yeah, it's basically a warehouse. It's a loft
beds
apartment,
and a
but it's just, yeah.
Very strange house, a place to live. In this movie, we have a tied-up dog. From what I can tell, the dog's been tied up for probably 4 days. With the world's largest rope and the world's smallest dog. And then we have the buddies who are about to maybe get killed scene. I call it the fat guy peeing scene, where the fat guy has to get out of the car to pee, and the couple in the car with him decide to make out and take out one breast in the amount of the time of a urination, which I thought was an odd choice.
Appreciate it, but odd.
Yeah, really odd, because they don't have that much time. Not to mention, the fat guy, while peeing, has the line, he goes to pee, he looks down at his penis and says, "Good things come on small packages."
Yeah, doesn't he know that? That's Jack's line.
Yeah, I say that every time I pee. What's the big deal?
I never having been in that situation. I didn't think you'd refer to it yourself out loud. Being a solo urinator, I don't know. I thought that was really freaking weird.
Well, you'd be wrong.
So, yeah, on the WTFs, I think they're high in this movie. Not to mention there's no way you can figure out the killer before the last 10 minutes of this movie. So, yeah, I'm going to go with 8.
Yeah, I think it's strong in this category, too. I agree. When we talk about all the little plot inconsistencies and the things, just the whole thing of when the guy sneaks into the house to try and scare them so that they leave the house, and instead the old woman grabs the shotgun and is chasing him, shooting him. I was laughing my butt off. It was so odd looking. It was something else. For all
we
this,
didn't even mention the Santa murder.
Yeah, the Santa murder. That was an odd one.
Why the hell was he dressed as Santa?
Why? Why was he dressed as Santa just when she happened to show up in the house?
Not to mention that she's killed with a baseball bat that doesn't look like it hurts at all.
Well, the thing is, he hit her the first time, and she turned around like she'd been lightly tapped on the shoulder with the baseball bat. He just slugs her, and she turns around very lackadaisical, like, "Oh, there's someone there." And then he gets hit. She gets hit again and killed with the baseball bat. But the first time, even though he completely slugs her, she doesn't sell it at all. It was awesome.
Although other actors don't sell their deaths either, because the machete murder looks exactly the same. It's that, and they get hit with a machete, and it's like, oh, ow, that might have hurt. And then the second blow is the killing blow.
Always the second blow. The first one is just, that'll leave a mark.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's great. Where's the police in this whole movie? For murders and for all this money, millions or billions of dollars, you think the police would be all over this thing. But where the hell are they? They show up for a little bit, but
well, there's no bodies, so no one's actually reported them missing for quite a long.
No, that's the slasher movie part where we finally get the slasher movie. Everybody shows up at the end.
Yeah, there's no bodies until we find out that the killer's been stacking them like cordwood in the attic.
Yeah, it's too bad. The last movie, I forgot to mention this. The cop had a line in the tomb saying something like, "I'm not going anywhere. These people have been killed and murdered, and they're dead." One of those like Plan 9 out of. Yeah, that was great.
That's right. They're dead and someone's responsible.
Yeah. And someone's responsible.
And it's the same thing here.
This movie could have used a police officer just hanging around who's just completely useless, saying lines like that. That would have added to the entertainment. But I think it's a solid 7 in the WTFs. I think we've seen quite a few that we've mentioned that are either plot inconsistencies or and the whole look. Even if the rest of the movie's only like a 4. The fact is that the final 15 minutes is like a 9 out of 10, just like a continuous 9 out of 10 WTF. So it just bumps the whole average. So I'm giving it a 7.
All right. I think to pile onto that stuff, we mentioned the roommate who doesn't get a whole lot of screen time. His big scene is over an hour into the film, where he's he also warns our hero that he's playing with fire. But through that whole scene, the roommate, I couldn't take my eyes off him because he clearly has pink eye. When he was shooting that scene, like, this scene is so important. You couldn't have gone back like 2 days later and gotten his stuff. Like, he's got this like bursting red eye that was super distracting, but it did make me suspect him. But I'm going to go all the way up to an 8 because at the end, our lead and Sybil Danning leave together. They're just a couple at the end of the film.
That's right, on their way to Hawaii.
Yeah,
he just shows up.
Actually, I was thinking that scene is going on. Like, I give him a week before she figures out a way to bump him off too.
That's right.
So she shows up in this great car and then says to him, "This car's yours now, and come with me on vacation." And then they're driving away in his new car, and his old, and this is the comedy of the movie. They did this more than once. His old boss now is screaming at him, "I'm going to fire you if you leave." And
because that matters, because Sybil Danning shows up and offers you a Ferrari and a trip to Hawaii, and it's just like, oh.
Let me tell you something. There has never been a job, if Sybil Danning offered me a week with her, there's never been a job that I have or could hold where I wouldn't go, I'll leave. Yes, I'll give up this job to spend that week with you.
And that's probably even Sybil Danning right now. Yes.
Yeah. She's 71 now, even now.
All right. 8 for me it is. Memorable moments.
This one,
I can think of 2.
Yes. This one is absolutely all in on the Sybil Danning because the rest of it, like, as you guys were talking, like, and I watched this movie 2 weeks ago or whatever, and as you guys were talking, I'm like, I forgot that. Nope, didn't remember that at all. So there was not a lot of the actual movie that I remembered, but I totally remembered Sybil Danning. So I'll give it a 6 just for her.
The bikini has it at an 8. Just that alone. I'm sure I'll remember other things, but no, that bikini has it right up there with the space bikini from Beyond the Stars or whatever the hell that movie was. But I'll remember the costume. Yeah. No, 8.
Look, I actually forgot that the roommate was the killer. I mean, the whole surprise twist at the end, I forgot until we're doing the podcast and you guys reminded me. That is not a good sign. So I will give it a 5 for Sybil Danning's bikini, Sybil Danning's shower suit, Sybil Danning's bikini, and Sybil Danning's shower suit scene.
We haven't mentioned the white lingerie set she wear. That is memorable there. That's an awesome,
memorable too.
Excellent black one as well.
And I'll also throw in that, plus her bikini and her shower scene.
Yeah. I think all of that, and I forgot the ending of the movie, so 5 for me as well. Crazy concept.
Crazy concept. Well, oh boy. I mean, this is a good crazy concept, I think, because of the fact that, we start out, we have the movie poster, which makes it look like a sex romp, where the teacher's taking advantage of her student, and then it turns into a sex thriller, then it turns into a whodunit, and then at the end it wraps up in a slasher movie. I'm not quite sure how you sell that to anybody and say, like, so we're really genre hopping here, and we're gonna come up with a masterpiece, and Sybil Danning has to act and be naked. Oh, okay. Well, here's your money. But so I figured that
I'd give you money for that.
Well, yeah, exactly. So I think that the Sybil Danning being naked part is what got them their money. The rest of it is just the crazy concept. 7.
So score?
7.
Yeah. Why not?
Yeah.
Yeah, 7. Okay. 7 was his number.
Yeah.
What's your number on crazy concept?
I'm not sure it has that much of a crazy concept. I think they made a sexy thriller that didn't quite work and sort of had to scramble to market this sucker. I didn't see any of the sex comedy stuff actually in the film, and the slasher bits at the end are incompetence in storytelling rather than, a planned thing. So that's not really concept. I can't go huge, but it is a weird movie. So I'll go with a 7.
Yeah, it's a.
A 7. Just because the character shift of Sybil Danning is really weird. That, for most of the movie, she's a suspect and a bad guy. And by the end of the film, she drives off to the sunset with our hero. She's the only one who makes out well in this movie.
Yeah, I got the exact same score, 7. I mean, let's face it, it's a slasher film. It's a 15-minute slasher film surrounded by other stuff. I mean, that's a crazy concept to me. Stan summed it up really perfectly, actually. I got a 7.
Well, let's make it 7s across the board then. I think the weirdness of taking that left turn near the end into a slasher film is basically like you're trying to take a film he made 10 years earlier and then put what's the modern twist on this to come back to it. Like, well, the modern twist is that horror films sell, so that's what we'll do.
Yay. Nailed it.
All right, well, that reaches the end of our balloting, and this film does get a -1 for running at 96 minutes, going over our cutoff of 95, giving it a final total of a respectable 63.5 out of 100, which ties it with One Down, Two to Go and Killer Clowns from Outer Space.
Interesting. It's an interesting. Again, it's a wonderful, wonderful Sybil Danning piece. The rest of the movie is completely just exists to support Sybil Danning. So.
Oh, I saw this movie. She doesn't need any support.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, most of the movie she doesn't have any support at all. Yeah.
No, that is for sure. Okay, well, we are about to choose the films for our next season, but before that, Jim, some business.
All right, well, that Octagon we mentioned, you can find that on WeTalkPodcast.com. They are our show sponsor, and We Talk Podcasts has a Facebook and they have a Twitter. And Cult Film Showdown is on YouTube and Instagram, and we have a Patreon. If you like what we're doing, we're talking about doing some Patreon exclusive bits. So throw us a couple of bucks there and keep the lights on.
Excellent. We like the lights, and we like to watch movies. And we need to pay for our Amazon Prime subscription.
That's right. Yeah, my Prime's coming up anytime now. So
All right. Well, our next season is the Canon Spotlight. Otherwise known, probably known as. Oh.
I have something before we go, because you're mentioning his Canon. I had asked none of you to pick or watch The Naked Cage because it had come up in an early episode, and I said I was probably going to pick it for this. I'm now not necessarily going to, just in case that changes anybody's decision making ahead of time. Go ahead.
Now, in the next 10 seconds, you can choose to watch the movie. But,
don't even remember it.
Yeah, I forgot that totally. All right. Well, we'll tentatively title this Loose Cannon, but I was more thinking who put their Golan in my Globus, but that's too long. So
yeah, I like Cannon Fodder.
Cannon Fodder, also very good. So let's go with that. All right. So now one of our favorite parts where we get to yell at Jim and say, "Jimmerate!"
Oh, I do like that part. Okay. Get myself all organized here because I'm trying to remember what I picked so that I can be ready in case I'm called upon.
Yeah, just make the sound effect when you do the Jimmerate. But
Stan adds that later.
Oh, that's funny.
And Jimmerate. It is Stan.
Yay! All right, this is some good news. I'm super happy to be able to bring Sam Furstenberg back into the octagon. I am going to go with Avenging Force because when I see that it was intended as a sequel to Invasion USA, but this time it does not have him. It has Michael Dudikoff. So how can you go wrong?
Michael Dudikoff. We haven't had him in the octagon in way too long.
I agree.
You may have just affected my picks.
And Jimmerate. Jack.
It is me. Well, I'd like to go with Hard Rock Zombies. And then I would like to say, that's my gift to you. You're welcome.
Unfamiliar. You want to tell us anything about that movie?
Nope, apparently not.
Let me see. We got hard rock. We got zombies. We got Nazis. What more do you need?
Not a thing. All right. And Jimmerate. Nick.
All right, I am going with the film that I've seen many, many times through scrambled paid television in the 80s, but have never seen in its entirety. A movie that I thought was called The Barbarian Brothers for most of my adult life. But I now find out it's called Barbarians Co. Oh, Barbarians and Co. or just The Barbarians.
Fantastic.
Two twin brother bodybuilders in a movie. How can you go wrong?
Oh yeah, and I knew that those guys were going to wind up in the octagon at some point. They couldn't without, you know.
I was waiting for you to put them in there, Stan. I know you're a fan of the Barbarian Brothers.
Well, I mean, honestly, I was mostly just trying to, just setting rules for myself. I just tried to stick to the Golan and Globus produced movies that are part of canon. So that's kind of why I didn't touch the Barbarians and Hard Rock Zombies.
Yeah, I just remembered the number of breasts in this movie as I remember it. That overrid any other consideration.
Oh, I'm perfectly happy. I'm ecstatic with both.
All right, if you got anything more to say, you'll go ahead because I'm scrambling now that he's taken the movie I was going to pick.
Oh no! This is why you need multiple choices.
I do.
Right?
I do have backups here. All right. Well, I'm going to take a flyer. I'm going to take a risk. It is the sequel to a film that only did medium on the octagon, but I think that having heard the story of the making of the sequel, I think it's something that I want to put in and just see how things go. This is The Adventures of Hercules 2.
Ooh, okay then.
Interesting.
The film that Lou Ferrigno did not know he appeared in. All right. The back half.
Jimmerate again.
Jimmerate. It is Jack.
Oh no, I didn't want it to be me. I wanted to stay here because I'm scrambling myself on what I'm going to do because I was going to pick not Avenging Force, but I was going to pick another Sam Furstenberg movie in American Samurai. But I don't want to get too repetitive, so let's go with America 3000.
Oh, you took one of mine.
Well, you know what? I don't apologize for it. That's the luck of the Jimmerator.
Oh, that looks like some
sort of fun. This is America 3000. You're looking at immediately at
that looks like thing.
One thing you got to say for the canon: did anybody do better posters than these guys?
Oh, it's amazing. They were one of the companies that was really known for making the poster and then making the film.
Yeah.
All right, and Jimmerate. It is Nick.
Damn, I was actually hoping somebody else would win because I got 2 picks and only one spot.
I know the feeling. Yes.
I mean, thank God Jack took a slot away from me last time because 3 picks could have killed me to choose between these particular films. But yeah, I think I'm going to harken back to the early days of this podcast and hope to get a winner with a proven track record. So I'm going with Enter the Ninja, the first film in the Ninja trilogy. And we all know how well Ninja 3, The Domination did.
It's
and Franco Nero in a white ninja suit. How can that go too far wrong?
There's a lot. There is a lot going on in that movie. I actually just watched that movie recently, and yes, I can say that it is a fine choice.
All right. And
Number 2. Jimmerate.
It is me.
Mm-hmm. Take one of my movies, please.
I'm struggling on this one. I'm gonna go with A Naked Cage. I think since Jack put it up there, I'm gonna put it back in. I was expecting him to take it, so. And as I've said before, we haven't spent enough time in the women in prison genre, so I think
I was worried about spending it being our 3rd in 2 seasons. I was worried about it being too much, but how can it be? It's a women in prison movie. You're gonna love it. There will be a shower scene. There will be a rapey prison guard. There will be a corrupt warden. It's all going to be there.
All right, close her up. All right, this is so very hard for me. I think that
I'll trade you a draft choice for next season. Really kind of want to get Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2 in here.
See, for me, there was two left, and Rappin' the Electric Boogaloo, I was super close on it, and even though I know that I'm at the risk of repeating myself a little bit, American Ninja 2, also by Sam Furstenberg, also with Michael Dudikoff, Super Ninjas really, really sold me on this one, so American Ninja 2.
All right. Interesting. There's so many left on the table that are so great.
There's a ton.
I really, really considered Cobra. Really heavily considered that because I'm sure that would score, over the top. I was really hoping somebody would pick.
This was where
Sinbad movie with Lou Ferrigno.
Yeah.
I almost picked that.
I could, Masters of the Universe could certainly fit. Yeah. I mean, even Superman 4, The Quest for Peace, probably, could get tossed in here.
If I watch it through a cult film lens, it would be very interesting.
Gore,
Gore was one that almost made it for me. Yeah. Dr. Heckle and Mr. Hype, which is one of the very early canons.
Rockula was one I almost did.
But
I decided to watch rock movies in there.
Like Cyborg, taking some Jean-Claude Van Damme stuff.
Yes. Yeah. There was a lot. Link from 1986 was really close to me. It's a monkey. It's a monkey movie.
Oh, or Alien from L.A. with Kathy Ireland.
Well, I would have picked that, and then I saw it was rated G, and I went, I'm not watching a G-rated movie from Albert Pyoun with Kathy Ireland. I'm not doing it.
That's a good call. I'm glad we didn't get down to that point. I'm sad that we didn't get to Breakin' 3 Electric Boogaloo, but I have a feeling it'll come up. So. All right, well, now we have things to watch, so I'm looking forward to that. Does anybody have anything else to say before we wrap up and go away? Apparently not. So, let's go watch some cannons. Yes! For Jim, and for Jack, and for Nick, I am your host, 8th Dan Stanadu, and thanks for listening to the Cult Film Showdown.
If your English professor looked like this, You wouldn't mind staying after school, doing odd jobs, even inviting her to your room. Eric Brown, the star of Private Lessons, is playing with fire when he falls into the hands of Playboy sensation Sybil Danning. But he thinks it's worth it. Wouldn't you?
Oh, you're playing with fire.
They're playing with fire.